Now, during the pandemic, the government helped retailers indiscriminately with business rates relief. But knowing that they didn't really need that prop, several supermarkets have handed it back. It's the equivalent of the reverse of tax avoidance, giving the government money they didn't have to. It's quite a thing for companies to do that, and Labour have suggested that the money handed back should be used now to help hard-hit high streets. I spoke to Esther McVey earlier, Conservative MP for Tatton and former Secretary of State for Work and Pensions. She was prominent in campaigning for the supermarkets to pay back the support the government provided.
I am part of the group and founded the group Blue Collar Conservatives. And over the course of the year, we'd met with some of these companies that were excluded, some of these people who hadn't had any support. And really, it was to look at a fairness, a system that could help those who'd had no support. And it was how to get money back from those who didn't need it, but to provide it to those who desperately did need it.
And are you happy with the response? Because not everybody has said they'll give the money back, or at least not yet.
Tesco has been phenomenal. Asda, Aldi, Lidl, all have come forward, and they didn't need to do this, but they felt it was the right thing to do because months later, when they could analyse their returns and how their business has done, they've thought, you know what, we don't need that money from the government. And all credit to them, realising they didn't and handing it back. So I think that is right. And I would ask other companies to look at themselves in the mirror and say, if you do not need that money now, hand it back.
Give us a comment on Waitrose, obviously part of the John Lewis partnership. And they said, well, we've been grateful for this support. We've lost lots of sales while our John Lewis shops have been closed, and we've invested heavily to keep partners and customers safe. And so they're not minded to give the money back. They really feel they can use it. Do you feel they should be joining the Sainsbury's and the others, the Tesco's and Asda's?
I quite agree. There will be part of their business that does need support. So it's looking at those who, when they look at it, they don't. So they might separate or look to now separate out the Waitrose from the John Lewis partnership and hand the money back. And yet there were other ones. You'll remember too, BDO, the accountants company, they also said they weren't going to hand the money back. But when they saw the public response, the MD said, no, we are going to hand that money back now. So really, it's to really assess what you do need and don't need from government. Because remember, this is taxpayers' money. And there are other people who desperately need that money, who have gone through a bad time. So it's not for you to allow your company to benefit on government money. It's to genuinely, if you need it, and hand back what you don't need.
There would be a different way, though, wouldn't there, rather than the moral suasion? The government could have made the rule that they wouldn't give this relief to companies that didn't suffer. And now the companies are supposed to sort of voluntarily pay the tax.
These schemes had to be devised at speed and delivered at pace, and therefore they were universal at the time to make sure people got their money when they needed it. 9 months later, when the dust has settled, you can therefore relook at it. And you're quite right. Government could say, well, we're going to do a windfall tax. But actually, a lot of these businesses have decided they are willingly handing it back. And I would say that was corporate social responsibility, big businesses doing the right thing. And as I said, all credit to them.
Do you agree with the Labour proposal, which is that the government should, if you like, earmark the money that they've got back, to think of it as a bonus, and maybe to devote that to propping up high streets and to investing in high streets?
Well, to be fair, when the Blue Collar campaign, the Conservative campaign, was asking the supermarkets to hand over the money, it very much was with the view that this would be handed over to those businesses who didn't get support. So I hope that government will act in good faith and hand that money to those excluded businesses